Hello, I'm AlexJWilson.com, and today I'm at the RE/MAX Ontario Atlantic Conference, a kickstart for 2011. And I'm at my good friend Mark here. He's up from South Florida, and he's going to talk about the Florida real estate market, specifically South Florida, and the opportunities that are down there. We've seen it a lot in the Toronto Star, just about opportunities to purchase, but it's tough to get a gauge without actually having an expert to deal with, and Mark's going to provide us some advice. So, Mark, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Marc Schafler from Palm Beach County, Florida, which one of the biggest counties on the South Atlantic side of Florida, on the coast. Kind of southernmost region is Boca Raton, which most of you have heard of, going up through Del Rey, and then you have West Palm and Palm Beach, up through Singer Island, Jupiter, and it's one of the premier resort vacation areas and wealthiest sections of South Florida, but with also a lot of fantastic oceans and beachfront property.
And golf.
And golf. Yeah, golf capital. Yeah, PGA National is right in the heart of it in Palm Beach Gardens, where I live, and some of the best golf courses in the country, in the world, and Honda Classics there, and a number of other PGA events.
So are you finding a lot of Canadians that are coming down to you looking to purchase properties in the Florida area?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons I came up to Toronto. I've been getting a number of clients from Toronto, Windsor, Quebec, and Montreal, and then I just recently did a transaction with one of the members of the Windsor team, and they told me to get in touch with their agent up north and in the area, and when handling the referral for that transaction, he invited me up to the conference here, Kickstart, for RE/MAX in Toronto, and to introduce me to all the other Canadian markets and top teams and brokers to talk to about Florida market a little bit more.
Okay, so I do a lot of condos here in Toronto, and I know we were talking at dinner last night, and you're asking me about price per square foot, obviously a lot higher here,
sure,
and the average size of units there. Why don't you give us an idea of what the price per square foot is in Florida and what people are looking at when they're looking at sort of a different unit that they're buying and different options that are out there for purchase?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the nice thing is there is a wide array of product down there. I mean, you've got high-rise, mid-rise, condo properties across the street and townhouses, as well as single-family homes, of course. When you're talking about dollar per square foot on the ocean, we've had a drastic, obviously, reduction in the price point, $1 per square foot at the peak of the market, when most oceanfront property would easily sell for $500 a square foot, up over $1,000 a square foot, kind of more similar to the Toronto markets today, and obviously in the United States, the New York and Boston markets. And what we've experienced after a major 5-year correction in the markets, we've lost about a half of that value. And today you can buy amazing oceanfront properties at around $200 a square foot, upwards, starting at that price point, and then other properties on the intercoastal where you can even get nice 2-bedroom condos for under $200 a square foot for pretty high-end, newer construction properties that would be comparable to some of the things you see in the Toronto market.
And I think one of the things is it makes people hesitant to going down there. We read in the paper you can get a condo for $29,000. I guess you don't deal in that specific. You're dealing in the nice stuff, the higher end stuff,
sure,
the stuff that a typical individual within here in the Toronto market would feel comfortable in. They're not worried about half the building being empty and problems with maintenance fees and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of the area that you deal in?
Yeah. Most of my market, again, Palm Beach County is a wealthy community overall. That your median home price is going to be at least $250,000. Again, a lot of the people that come down are from the Northeast that are affluent buyers looking for secondary homes and often retire down there, and their families and friends, and then also obviously the Canadian market has also found and fallen in love with that area of Central Florida and been buying a lot of secondary properties. And so most of them, my markets I'm dealing in, really you're not dealing with the really low end, older properties in markets that don't have all of the cultural, social activities, great restaurants, and entertainment and resort type of market that people are looking for when they're coming down from the north So yeah, typical price points are going to start, in the 150 range, and go up from there.
And I guess the final question is, because I asked it you last night, is there's always the overlooming question about the property tax. And when we talked about it, it didn't actually seem that bad. So I don't know if you want to give a little explanation about property taxes now.
Absolutely, yeah. The misconception that a lot of Canadians have, and people from outside the area, is that they're getting a surcharge of some sort or paying more taxes on their properties than you would if you were a U.S. citizen. And that's really kind of one of the misunderstood aspects of buying a property in Florida. The taxes for anybody buying a property in Florida that's not a Florida resident and using that property as their primary residence, the tax structure is going to be the same for everybody buying that property. That's not what they call homesteaded. And homesteaded means that it's a primary property that they're staying at for over 6 months a year, and it's and they're Florida residents with a Florida license. Only those people that buy a property in Florida will get an exemption off of their taxes. Again, it's usually only amounts to about a 25% savings. Again, depending on the property value. But anyone that coming from New York, Boston, Michigan, anywhere in the United States that's buying a secondary property from Florida, their tax situation is going to be exactly the same as any Canadian buying in Florida. You're going to be paying about 2% of the assessed value of that property, which is usually about 75 to 85% of the market value. So in essence, I say, it's about 1.5 to 2% of the purchase price of that property is a good estimate for what you're going to be paying on taxes for that property.
So definitely not cost prohibitive.
No, not cost prohibitive at all.
Which is a big misconception.
Right. I mean, obviously, when doing your taxes, you're going to, maybe talk about other savings that you can get from carrying a property on there and the costs. And again, that's going to be different from maybe the tax policy in the United States, where we might have some deductions that we can take off those properties. So I don't know the details about those differences, but as far as cost-wise, the taxes also in Florida, what a lot of people don't know, is based on the assessed value. And Florida is one of the few areas in the United States where the assessed value is reassessed every year. So every year you come out with a new tax basis on every single property. So, for example, now that the market's corrected as much as it has, their tax cost on that property is going to be significantly less than what it would have been just a few years ago, where they might have had $8,000 in tax on an annual basis for a property that might have been worth $600,000, and now that property's dropped to a tax assessed value of, let's say, $400,000, and now your taxes, are much, significantly less. They've gone down with the value of the property. So, again, making that property more affordable from a number of perspectives. The other thing that I wanted to touch on real quick.
Yep, go for it.
Is that the buying opportunity, why it's so unbelievable. I think why so many Canadians that have the wherewithal to buy a secondary investment property in Florida are going down right now is because not only has the properties in South Florida in particular dropped about 50% from their peaks, but the Canadian dollar over the last 5-6 years has increased against the U.S. dollar 45%. So essentially, for the Canadian buyer, I mean, it's really an unbelievable buying opportunity because you're now buying things 65 to 70% off what they would have been just 6-7 years ago. So it's really, just an unbelievable opportunity, and, in the strong markets like that I represent, those values really we're already seeing the market start to turn, especially for waterfront properties, where the inventory's dropped the last year every month for the last 12 months, and now we're getting to that point where the pendulum is going to start to swing, and property values on the water in the good markets of South Florida will start to go up this year. And a lot of people also think that we've got a couple of years before the market's going to get healthy in Florida, and they're not really looking at the individual segments of the market, like waterfront property in the prime markets in Florida. They're looking at overall Florida, where you might have other areas like Orlando inland that were overbuilt and might still have more time. It's going to take more time for that inventory, to come down enough where prices are going to stabilize and start to go up. Whereas, in the prime markets on the coastline, on the Atlantic side, and even on the Gulf side in Sarasota, comparable markets over there, those waterfront properties will start going up, and the time to buy is now in 2011. There's unbelievable opportunities, like I said, to buy oceanfront properties at under $250 a square foot, and that's not going to stay there for that long.
Well, Marc, great job.
Thank you.
This is your expert down in Florida. If you want any projects down there, set up a property manager down there, everything, Marc has all those contacts. I can forward you along his information, so check me out at contact@alexjwilson.com. Maybe a quick email. I'll send you Marc's info. Otherwise, making your real estate dreams come true, alexjwilson.com. Hoping you're having a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Oh,
Thanks.
You got anything else?
Oh, great being here, and Toronto is one of my favorite cities, and look forward to coming back real soon. Like I said,
And when it's warm.
yeah, we'll be coming in the summer.